Welcome to Dear Texas Radio, where we encourage Texans to drop everything and read. Your hostess for today's show is Lori Allen.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dear Texas Radio. We don't just encourage Texans to drop everything and read because this show could be heard around the globe. Wherever you are, we encourage you to drop everything and read. And with the wonderful authors that we interview, you may be inspired to drop everything and write and become part of Texas Authors. We have an interesting guest for you today, a prolific author. Her name is C.A. Szarek. She's a USA Today Bestselling and award-winning author of romantic suspense, epic and historical fantasy romance. C.A., welcome. Boy, that sounds like a mouthful. Are all those different genres, or have you combined them into one?
Oh, no, they're different. I can't seem to stay in one lane. So it seems like when I finish one book, I want to write something different, something else. So I kind of go back and forth.
Well, I see that you have a degree in criminal justice, and that sort of makes maybe some of the books kind of look like a murder mystery detective kind of series. Am I right about that?
Absolutely. I have a romantic suspense series. It's on the steamy side, and there's currently 5 books in that series, and there's going to be 3 more. And they are, because that is my background, I did go to the police academy after college, and then I actually moved to Texas, so I never actually worked as an officer, but I do love that kind of stuff. So my romantic suspense series is kind of like, I usually describe it as kind of like Law and Order with love. So because it does have a slight police procedural aspect to it, and it takes place in small town Texas. It's a lot of fun.
Well, it does sound very good. It sounds very interesting. People love that kind of stuff. But you have another series in genre, too. Tell us about that.
Actually, I have 2, but I have an epic fantasy romance series, which is kind of like magic, dragons, swords, that kind of thing. That's kind of where I started because I grew up reading fantasy. There's 3 books and a novella in that series. But what I've been writing lately, I've kind of been stuck in the Scottish Highlands, which is a great place to be in the 17th century. It's a lot of fun. And I have 3 books out in that series that are in a trilogy. And then currently 2 kind of like side stories. One is an associated novella, and the other one was part of a multi-author project, and it takes place 85 years later in my timeline. But the one I'm most excited about right now is my newest one. It's a prequel to the series, and it's on pre-order right now, and it comes out on May 9th, and it's called The Princess and the Laird. It's a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to write.
Well, we'll get some more details about it, but I want to remind everybody of your name and how to find you and your books. So you can go to books.txauthors.com, and C.A. spells her last name a little bit differently than it sounds. If you're looking her up, you can look her up under authors by her first initial, C.A., but her last name is spelled S as in Sam, Z as in zebra, A-R-E-K, but pronounced Szarek. Right, C.A.? I got all that right so far?
Absolutely. You're doing awesome with that. Usually people don't.
Well, that's
it's
good.
Polish. I didn't pick it.
You have a lot of books out. How do you find the time to be so productive and prolific?
Well, for me, I've always wanted to write, and I've always been a writer. But to get the books done, which is what we all want, for me, habit is I have to form a habit, so I need to write daily. And even if I write 100 words or 1,000 words or 2,000 words every day, as long as I'm putting some words to the page, it keeps me going. As soon as I stop, it's bad for me. It's like having a bad habit. So for me, the key is just keeping going. And when I finish a book, which I did recently, I edit it and then send it off to my editor, and then I start the next one. So I actually have already started my next book because I've got to keep
so you don't give yourself a break?
No, breaks are bad for me because procrastination is a lot of fun. So I need to keep it going. So normally I just jump right into that next one. As a matter of fact, the day that I send it off to my editor, I went ahead and started the other one the same day.
Good for you. Well, how do you get all your ideas?
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. I always have ideas. There's so many people living in my head. I don't know. They all stand up and raise their hand and say it's their turn. So I try to plan out my schedule about what I'm going to write, and sometimes it doesn't work.
It seems like you have a common denominator with romance. How do you have all these great romantic ideas?
I think because everybody loves a happily ever after, and there's so many different ways to do that, write about it. Everybody deserves love. Everybody wants love. So I think it's a lot of fun to, quote, meet these couples and see how they end up together. My favorite part of the romance is the chase. Who's pursuing who, and why can't they be together, and how they end up working their stuff out. How badly do they want it? How badly do they want that happily ever after? It's a lot of fun to figure out because it's different for everybody.
We're talking with C.A. Szarek. She has a new book, and it's called The Princess and the Lair. And you said it was a lot of fun, C.A. What's so much fun about it?
Oh, because I got to play with, she's a princess. She's a fairy princess. And I got to play with magic and jumping between the fae realm and the human realm. That's how my world kind of works. They're separate. And it was a little bit difficult in the fact that this is a prequel to my trilogy, and I never really intended on writing their story. And then they kind of stood up in my head and said, no, you need to write our story because everybody might know what ended up happening, but you need to tell everybody how we met. And it was funny, but so it was a little bit challenging because when you go backwards in your timeline, you have to stick to certain rules and things that you put in place. So I had to make sure things I may have wanted to change, I didn't get to change. So, but it was fun because of who the characters are, and it's definitely I tend to write strong female heroines, strong female characters, and she definitely is a very stubborn, headstrong person, and so it was fun to see how things worked out with her and her, of course, her very handsome laird that she ended up with. I just spoiled the ending.
No, but you got me kind of confused on the rules. Now, can you explain that or give some examples?
Sure. This particular story, this couple, they play a major role in the first book of my series with that couple, which is his brother. Using their names is probably better. This is Alex's book. Well, the first book of my trilogy is Duncan's book, and part of the story the groundwork that I already laid was that Alex and Alana, who's the princess, were married for 9 years, but they were separate, and then he gets kidnapped. So kind of like the action plot of Duncan's book is that he's looking for his brother. He has to rescue his brother. And then his heroine, Claire, she's from our time, and she ends up back in time in 1672. So I had to decide if Alana is such a strong person, what would keep her away from her husband for 9 years? Because they married in secret. So it was very interesting to try to come up with reasons that when you go backwards, because when I originally wrote Duncan and Claire's book, I never intended to write Alex and Alana's book. They were secondary characters. They were just to drive the plot forward. But I ended up really liking them and then knowing that there was more to it. So I'm really glad that it worked out the way that it did. But it was, authors can't break their own rules. So when you set up a rule in any kind of world that you built, you have to stick to it because readers kind of get very frustrated if you don't. So I knew certain things about their relationship, and I had to make it all work and fall into the columns and the believability factor and sticking with what I had already had out there. People have read that book and they already know. So I couldn't go back and change it, it's something you can't do. So it was parameters that were challenging, but I managed it.
Well, you sound like a smart person who could manage that. We're talking with C.A. Szarek, and you can find, she's got a whole lot of books that you can read, and they sound like they would keep you turning the pages. Her books are, as all Texas authors' books are, at books.txauthors.com. CA, I've been a journalist for 30 years and covered a lot of police officers and sheriff's deputies, and actually worked for a time at something called the Law Enforcement Television Network. And as you're talking about all this romance and fantasy, I'm thinking, most of the cops I know would probably make fun of her at the academy or in the department if she was talking about this.
Absolutely.
Am I way off? Talk to me.
Yeah, that is actually really funny, because I know a lot of cops, because I worked in Texas courts, 2 city courts for almost 9 years, and they do make fun of me. And it's hilarious, because the most other common thing from my cop friends are, I want to be on one of your book covers. And it just makes me laugh that they ask me that a lot. It's really funny. But, I mean, cops are my people. That's one of the reasons I write my romantic suspense series, because I love it. I love them, and I love talking to them and working with them, and they have some fascinating stories as well. And I like to write action and work in cases and stuff like that as well. But, yeah, they absolutely do make fun of me. My cop friends, they do. It's a part of it. And one
but
day,
I'm sure it's
maybe
always fun, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I hope that they secretly read my books. I know one of them does. A good friend of mine, he does read my books. So, and he never talks to me about them. So I don't know what he thinks, but I know he has all my romantic suspense books, and it would be interesting to see what he thinks about them. I should ask him. But it's a lot of fun. That's a fun environment to be in.
Oh yeah, well, and you're doing so much good. Do you actually solve some crimes in these romantic suspense books?
Absolutely. The first, there's 5 currently, and the first 3 concentrate on that. It's all about different couples, but the big overall arc in the first 3 books is human trafficking, and then the second 2 are about organized car theft. So, and the one that's coming up is going to have actually a fire marshal is going to be. So that's going to be different for me. That's
After we hear from our wonderful sponsors, we'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
Dear Texas would like to thank our sponsors. McKinney, Texas has a rich history, one it embraces and loves to share with visitors. Nowhere is this more evident than McKinney's historic downtown, with more than 100 eclectic shops and eateries to explore. Situated just 30 miles north of Dallas, McKinney offers the perfect getaway from the urban hustle. For more about McKinney, check out www.visitmckinney.com or call 888-649-8499. The 3rd annual short story contest begins March 1st and runs through July 31st. Enter your short story for a chance at prizes and getting published. To learn more about this annual event, please visit our website at txshorts.com. Dear Texas would like to invite you to the McKinney Square Book Festival on June 3rd, 2017. The event will be held at the Performing Arts Center from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Meet 40-plus Texas authors, many of whom have won awards. Special events will take place during the day, and a special musical guest, Billy Dawson, will perform at 2 p.m. For more information, please visit our website, mckinney.deartexas.info. Wimberley Valley Tourism welcomes people to explore the many fine shops, restaurants, and wineries that make Wimberley special. More at wvtla.com. From concept to casting, recording to post-production, Spoke Media is dedicated to creating a superlative listener experience. www.spokemedia.io. EBG 247, where you can find ebooks galore 24 hours, 7 days a week at ebg247.com. Welcome to Dear Texas Radio, where we encourage Texans to drop everything and read. Your hostess for today's show is Lori Allen.
Thanks for staying with us. I I'm Lori, and we are talking today with C.A. Szarek. She is an award-winning author of romantic suspense, epic, and historical fantasy romance. And C.A., what does it take to become a USA Today best-selling author?
Well, I kind of lucked into that because a good friend of mine who is a much bigger name than myself, Crystal Shannon, asked me to be part of a box set that was 100% of the proceeds were for autism research because her daughter's autistic. And so I wrote a Highlander story, and there was a lot of big names in there, and I really felt privileged to be included in that. And we stayed on the list for 2 weeks, and we hit it on the 21st and the 27th of February. And we're very grateful for everyone who bought that because it was for such a good cause, and they read our stories and enjoyed them. And it was just, I really was very grateful to be included in that. It was fantastic.
Wow.
And that's how we did hit the list, and it was wonderful. And the book was only available for 30 days, so there was a bit of a sense of urgency on it. And everybody that got it, they really were happy with it. We had some good reviews on it, and we were able to hit that list for a great cause. I think we made like $4,500 for autism.
Oh, that is good. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well,
it was a great experience.
Maybe you can do that for another cause one of these days, now that you know how it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what advice do you have for those who have always thought, I'd like to write a book, but I just don't know how to get started. I don't have an idea. What would you tell them?
Well, I would say if you really think that you want to write, sit down and do it. Put words to the page. You can always fix it later. And then definitely, we all love our families, and so it's a tough call when someone says, "Yeah, I wrote a book. My mom says it's awesome." Well, you really do need to find some. You need to find some critique partners that know that have a little bit more experience than you have, and somebody who is not related to you that will be honest with you about it. And sometimes that's very tough because this is your baby. This is a part of your soul is in those words that you put out there. But you do need to have honest. And when we first start out, no matter how awesome we think we are, we're really not. You have to. I really, really am totally grateful for my own critique group because they've made my writing what it is. And so I suggest that new people find a writing group that is a critique group in nature, and then, just be around other authors. See how the process works. Decide how you want to pursue this career because now there's so many different ways. You don't need an agent. You don't need to go traditional unless you want to. You can self-publish. And then my number one thing I always tell new people, whether the book is written or not, is never, ever give up. If you want this, it's going to take hard work. No one ever said that writing is hard. No one told me that. Writing is hard, okay? It's extremely rewarding because once you write the end, you just want to do it again. There's nothing like the feeling of the end on the page in front of you. But it is a job. It is work, and it's not like a fantasy, and it's not easy. And so if you want it, you have to pursue it like anything else, and you have to put the work into it. And some people like the idea of it, and then they can't follow through and put the work in. So sit down, write, finish it, never give up.
C.A., that is excellent advice. Wow. Very impressive, very helpful to me who has written a couple books, nothing like you, and that's just great. Now, I saw a tweet today on Twitter that said, retweet this if you think writing a book is a lot easier than marketing a book. So what marketing tips do you have for authors?
Oh, first of all, that is absolutely true. Marketing, social media, all that stuff, promotion, it's a challenge for me personally because, when it's funny because this is a business, but you're the CEO. You are the marketing person. You are everything. That's what it is. And marketing has always been really tough for me. I'm a big Facebook. I've taken marketing classes. I've heard so many different things, And if you want to be, I am on Instagram, I am on Facebook, I am on Twitter. It's hard to split your focus. So a lot of people will say pick one and stick with it. So that's kind of the easiest thing for me. So I spend most of my time on Facebook. I do tweet, and I will retweet lots of things for other people. And I kind of always forget about Instagram because it's photo driven, which is silly because you want to be there as well. But I do spend most of my time on Facebook. So I would guess start out small and stick with one thing that you can manage, because time is another thing that I'm a very busy person. So time is hard to find for everything that I need to do in my life, writing stuff and non-writing stuff. So it's one of those things that we have to do as authors. It's not like it was 50 years ago or 20 years ago where the publisher did it for you. You have to do it yourself. You have to get your name out there. And that is still a challenge I'm trying to figure out, even after being published since 2013. And it's not something I'm fond of. I don't like it. I just want to sit and write. I just want to write books.
Well, CA, I might have a wonderful option for you and for any other authors who are sitting in your boat, and that is the Texas Authors Annual Marketing Event, and there's something new with it this year. You can actually get a certification, and it's called the Authors Marketing Certification, or AMC, and I'm going to give everybody a website. It's amc.authors.marketing, and it's part of our event. You go to 10 sessions during the event. That's going to be in July in Houston, and you get this really cool certification. So I would just recommend that everybody look into that, and if you can stand the heat and humidity in Houston, but we'll be inside in a nice hotel, then
air conditioning.
Come on to this. Yeah, come on to this. Okay, CA, you've got lots of books, and they're all for sale at books.txauthors.com. But do you have a favorite?
No, that's like picking your favorite kid. I don't know. I guess different couples resonate with me for different reasons. So that's as far as I can go to tweak it to say that they're my favorite. Some of them stick around longer than others. After I finish a book, I find myself actually going through a mourning process and missing them. I think that there's a couple that is from my Highlander series. Hugh McDonald is the hero's name, and the heroine's name is Juliet, but she goes by Jules. She's from our time, modern times, and she was a police officer. So she actually walked away from that to stay with him. And I really, their book is called The Parchment Scroll, and when I finished it, I really did mourn them for quite some time. And I knew that there was a little bit more to their story. So I got to write a short story about them for the autism box set that we hit the USA Today list, and it's called Highland Valentine. And it kind of made me feel better about parting ways with them, I guess. But whenever I miss characters, I realize I could pick up their book and jot through, and flip the pages and look through it. But I think that each character that comes to me, because I really do believe they come to me, I don't make them up. They come to me and tell me that they need their story told. They each resonate with me for different reasons. And, I like getting to know them. I'm not a plotter. I just sit down and write, and hopefully the words flow, and most of the time they do. So I learn things about the characters, and I like it to unfold organically. So I love them all. I can't pick one favorite. It is what it is. They're all out there.
The police officer who left her job for the love of her life, was that self-autobiographical? It sounds familiar.
No. No, not at all. But you have to, when you're gonna do things. That's a time travel book, so of course it's a lot of fun. I love playing with that, with mixing the old with the new, I suppose. But no, I actually met my husband at work when we were both working for a retail department store chain that's no longer in business. It was called Ames Department Store. He was in Pennsylvania and I was in Ohio, and we were both store detectives, so we caught shoplifters. for our job. That's what it was. And they used to ship us around when it was inventory time. And so I actually had to go to his store for inventory. And then fast forward a couple years, neither of us were working for the company anymore. He followed me down to Texas after I moved down here. So,
oh, that's romantic.
Yeah. Okay. He's a good guy.
We just have a couple of minutes left, CA, and I got to ask you a question about your beautiful covers. Do you have the same person do the artwork on all of your different covers, or how do you get those done?
Well, the ones that are art, that are drawn, my King's Rider series, they are by a wonderful, wonderful artist. Her name is Nicole Cadet, and she is in Australia. And I hired her after seeing a couple of book covers she did on her website. And she actually drew them. You know, she gives you a couple concepts, and then you pick the one that you want. You tell her. I don't even tell her what colors are. I just kind of tell her who the characters are, and we come up with a concept, and she draws it. She's really awesome. And then my Highlander books were all done by, it was custom photography. And my wonderful photographer, she's fabulous. Her name is Lindy Robinson. She's actually in Michigan. I found her on Facebook. And you basically tell her what kind of model you're looking for and what you want the cover to be. And then she actually did the graphic work she actually made the cover for me. A lot of photographers don't do that, but she's a graphic artist as well as a photographer. And so those are my favorite covers, my Highlander books. And then my romantic suspense series is with a publisher, and they, of course, did the covers, but they let me pick the photographs. And so I'm really lucky in that, because a lot of publishers don't give authors much say about their covers, and my publisher is really great about that.
Well, CA,
I love all of my covers.
They're all beautiful. It's been delightful to talk with you. It's CA Szarek. Check out her covers and the books. Buy some at books.txauthors.com. And we appreciate your time and all your good advice and just your outlook on life. Thanks a lot, CA Szarek.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
And for all of you, drop everything and read, or drop everything and write. Until next time, I'm Lori Allen.
Dear Texas would like to thank our sponsors. Bourgeois Media and Consulting, a book publishing consultant where creative inspiration is realized. More at bourgeoismedia.com. I'm Alex Anthony, your announcer. For all inquiries regarding voiceover, narration, and announcing services as heard on this program, please make contact through voxluxstudio@gmail.com, voxluxstudio@gmail, or you can call 512-537-6077. Thank you for listening and for your support. Thank you for listening to Dear Texas Radio. To learn more about Dear Texas and its literacy programs, please visit their website at deartexas.info. I'm Alex Anthony.